Morning, guys. I'm Ollie Sinclair. I'm a principal consultant for the cloud practice. We're going to go deep dive into three scenarios: one around virtual entities, one around Power Automate, and the final one around RPA, so robotic process automation. RPA is the most sort of the latest element that is from the Power Platform. It's specifically designed to bridge the gap between legacy systems that may not have these APIs to be able to create these custom connectors and have this, super streamlined data. It may be really legacy systems or web applications that don't have that, that modern look and feel and functionality. So the final scenario is that Crimson have rolled out tenancy enforcement, and the enforcement managers keep missing target dates for arrears progressions and submitting PCAL submissions, so possession claim online submission. So what we need to do is that a key target is to keep the commitments given in the announcement that the resumption of repossession cases are happening. So we need to make sure that we can very quickly, at the right time, go ahead and submit the right information to the Possessions Claims Online website, and actually do that through RPA. So the reason why I'm choosing RPA for this is, I don't know if anybody has experience with integrating with sort of national government websites, is that usually they are a number of decades behind where they could be, and usually some of these areas there are no APIs. So we're looking at old types of websites that don't have that API capability, and how can we bridge that gap to actually send information and consume information from those websites automatically rather than having somebody click through that. So I'm going to very quickly take you through robotic process automation from a desktop flow, and then put that all together and show you that being run through on real time. RPA, there's a lot to RPA. I am really just going through the web automation side, but as you can see from Power Automate Desktop, there is so many different elements that you can use. I'm just going to use the example of this RPA for now. So first thing to do is look at the Possessions Claims Online PCAL. So what I'm going to do is actually I've recorded what's known as a desktop flow, and if I edit this will show you a pre-recorded sort of step through submitting information into the Possessions Claims Online. Now this I think I was talking to Kira earlier this week around this demonstration, and what we were trying to do was actually get this to do core reporting, because everybody again has an obligation to consume all of their tenancy changes and their new tenancies into the core system. It's very, very similar to what I'm going to be showing here in PCAL. It's again a legacy website that doesn't really have API integration. It has bulk updates, which you can do bulk updates into Excel, or the other alternative would be using this type of RPA. So I'm going to step through this and just run you through how we actually can step through a journey. So if I just do run, what it will do is it will actually launch for me a window, a browser, which, as you can see, jumps up to Possession Claims Online. And what the Power Automate will do is we've recorded pre-recorded steps that actually logs us in, and goes ahead and starts a submission. Now that's absolutely fantastic. As you can see, I've done this a few times. You can actually go ahead and create a new submission and start running through this. Now that's brilliant from understanding how it works. What I'd like to show you is how we use Power Automate to actually execute this really without us having to look and step through it manually. But what I'd like to show you first is how we have input variables. So for example, the case number, I actually have what's known as an input variable, which can be used and called within Flow and then manipulated. So if you think address line 1, 2, case number and postcode is the example that I'm going to use to actually run this through within Power Automate on the Dataverse and actually show you that in real time. So that's the desktop side. I've made the recording. I've gone ahead and pre-done that. What I'd like to show you then is how that looks from a Power Automate perspective within flows. So I've got a manual trigger, so I'm just manually triggering this. But if you can imagine, same principle as, say, for example, the booking side. If we were to create something and maybe it would be an update to a tenancy enforcement case where we've gone through certain stages and now we're looking for PCOL submission, this would actually execute at that right time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this just manually and step it through, but this can be executed without the witness. But I'm just going to run this so that you guys can see this. And what it should do is it will pop up with a window and allow us to run this through. Okay, so the window's popped up. So I'm not doing anything now. This is all the system. It's going ahead, creating a reference. It's populating the information that needs to be used, social landlord. It's populating the addresses. It's going through and actually completing the possessions claim online process for you. So if you think about all of this data would be in your system and you'd be able to consume this robotic process automation to be able to then just go ahead and execute this process without having to do all of the submission. The really useful thing is if I was to submit this all the way through, obviously I won't because I'm not going to be claiming possession. But if I was to go all the way through this, and as you can see that it stopped at this point, so I don't really go any further. But if we were to go through this, we would get a an ID back. We'd get some information back potentially when the a sort of a court date or whatever that may be. We can consume that information and then push that back into Dataverse in the same flow, and therefore you're in your Dynamics application. You've gone from a tenancy enforcement, you've changed the status, you want to go submit PCOL. The system submits the PCOL and sends back to Dynamics the PCOL ID and the scheduled date for the court date, and then additional processes can go. So in terms of being able to automate, it's not about these new APIs and it's the just using the custom connectors. You can do robotic process automation with legacy websites as well.